It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. Boy, Nicole, you run with some pretty good company, huh?
Yeah, hello. I'm Svana Chapaitis, and I'm here from the Indiana Arts Council. We're excited to start our concert series at the Indiana Theater very soon. And so, I would like everyone to know that the first concert's coming up on September 28th at 7 p.m., and it will be Philly Street Strings, Indiana's very own string orchestra that some of you might remember from our January concert.
And who's this stranger you have with you this morning?
I brought my husband Stanley along.
Yeah.
We're actually both playing in the orchestra, and we founded the orchestra.
Wow. Our conversation for this morning presented by Marcus and Mack, voted Best Law Firm and Best Personal Injury Lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Stanley, it's good to have you back in the studio with us. As you know, this is there's probably not a whole lot of communities that have their own string orchestra.
Why Indiana has lots of things that other communities don't have, but this is certainly a kind of unique.
Yeah, it's a wonderful idea, and I bet you the sound is just amazing. So when we go outdoors and we hear a concert, it's different. But when we go indoors, the acoustics of it all, they're so different. So for this event, tell me what the program is like, what you anticipate.
Well, the program is a big range. We're starting with George Frederick Handel, which, I think most people understand who he was. We're adding to that some ancient Lithuanian folk music and moving on finally to jazz arrangements of Duke Ellington songs that I've done for the orchestra.
Yeah.
So it's a big range. It should be something for everyone.
Yeah. How big of an ensemble are we looking at?
We're currently 12 string players, and we will have a percussionist with us as well for some of the jazz tunes.
Yeah.
So we're keeping it pretty small, but I would say small and mighty. I mean, the sound of us together is quite amazing, and it's all acoustic.
Yeah, and young and old, I would assume it's a
mix. It's a mix. Yes. We're all from either from this community or the surrounding communities. We are private teachers, public school teachers, retired, and current IUP faculty. Some of his former students, Stanley was teaching at IUP, right? So some of his former students are also playing in the group. They have now jobs in the area. So, they're not high school age, so we were like in our 20s up to, a lot more.
But some experience, and I assume, Stanley, that you have, a bunch of you have played together in other settings as well.
Yes, these are people we've worked with. A number of the people are my former students who are now working professionals in the area. I'd make a little mention of the fact that one of my former students, Casey Williams, is now the orchestra director at Indiana High School.
Boy, she's dynamic, too.
Yes.
Wow.
And her husband, who they met while they were studying with me, plays viola and is a wonderful jazz guitarist who switches over to his guitar when we do something in that vein.
Yeah. And I assume that you do the directing?
It's we play without conductor. There's nobody up there with a stick. I remember seeing a Far Side cartoon some years ago with two kids watching a conductor and saying, he keeps waving that baton at them, but they just won't disappear. But we don't have a conductor, so I kind of lead from the first chair. I mean, it's hard to describe. This is a chamber orchestra. If a string quartet is a full-on true democracy, and a symphony orchestra is actually an autocracy that follows the lead of one director, the chamber orchestra kind of falls into that place in between, where every player has a contribution and a say, and we can talk and discuss, but there kind of has to be someone who is giving the leading direction and guidance, because 12 people, we'd never get through a rehearsal
So in this case, the conductor waves the baton and he disappeared.
The conductor disappears before he waves the baton.
Evidently. But putting the program together, this has to be, a pretty exciting thing to realize the breadth of all of these different selections and the styles that you can get into.
Yes, absolutely. And it's fun for us and it's fun for the audience to have all of these different styles, from older to romantic to modern. So it'll be a great, fun show to attend. And we also have a lot of fun giving it to the community.
Yeah.
The selection of the music really, there are two vital considerations, and the first one is, what is the audience going to really enjoy, appreciate, learn something from, perhaps. But the second one is, is this right for our group? Is this something our people can do a really dynamic job of putting across to the audience? Both of those things are, what we take under consideration.
Yeah.
And I think probably the hidden aspect, the third thing, is that you have a program like this where, we have two ancient Lithuanian folk songs that I've transcribed because that's my heritage. Čepaitis is a Lithuanian. And you have, modern jazz, Duke Ellington, and all sorts of stuff in between. And, if you were, let's say, to drop with a time machine into ancient Lithuania or to, London in the time of George Frederick Handel, you might have a hard time understanding the way people speak. You might be really perplexed, sometimes even put off by the cultural customs. You may not be able to understand much of anything that's going on. But if you listen to the music, you instantly know the people, the time, the cultural milieu. You get everything about it. Music is that immediate in its ability to communicate with an audience. And what we're trying to do is select music that, yes, it comes from a certain time, but it's also timeless, in which, it jumps across those footlights on the stage and reaches the audience immediately, directly, and they're able to appreciate it right away.
Yeah, and really reaching across centuries when you
Right.
think of the breadth of the artists themselves or the composers themselves of this music. And I would assume that the Lithuanian numbers are real kickers, right? I mean,
Yes.
That
In many different ways. I've been since I retired my professorship at IUP, this has been one of my principal musical projects, because in Lithuania, as we know, was finally freed from Soviet occupation in the early 1990s. And when that happened, it was discovered that in very remote villages in the eastern part of the country, there were people still singing these ancient songs. It's an isolated culture. It's a unique culture. The Lithuanian language is the oldest living language in Europe, and one of the maybe dozen oldest living still spoken languages on Earth. Its immediate antecedents go all the way back to Sanskrit, and the music is of a similar uniqueness. And as a matter of fact, the discovery of this, these villagers who were actually practicing an ancient practice of music and life, and it was a lot more than just songs, actually was preserved now by a United Nations World Heritage Project. So it's big. Yeah. And I've been busy transcribing this music. We actually have a string quartet which also specializes in original compositions that I've made out of the ancient Lithuanian folk music, and now we're bringing some of that to the Philly Street Strings.
Wow, this sounds like just an amazing project. Have you played publicly before? I mean, as a group, is this?
Yeah, our first concert was in just this past January. On January 27th, we had our debut, and I have to credit the Indiana Arts Council with encouraging me to do this. I was offered a slot, to fill a slot on their concert series, and the orchestra, chamber orchestra, was a dream that I've sort of hatched during the pandemic, and we just hadn't had the opportunity yet to really bring it to life. And having a slot on a concert series, I just said, yes, I know exactly what I want to do. And I called up these people that are, are part of the orchestra now, and everybody was immediately excited about the idea, and we pulled it off. And the reaction of the audience, the way we were welcomed, was just amazing. I mean, there was such almost a party atmosphere in the hall, and it was wonderful, and it was very encouraging for us because we kind of needed to know, do we want to keep this going, And the answer was yes.
So that was January.
This past January, we had our debut.
Now here we are in September. Probably these guys have been waiting to get back on stage.
Yeah, we do other things, but this is really our special project that we're very excited about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so the show again is at what time and what day?
September 28th, Saturday at 7 p.m. at the Indiana Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tickets are available at the theater, online, and also paper tickets, and also I think the Book Nook and the 7th Street Marketry and Zed's Gifts. They all have some tickets for sale. So, yeah, we'll see you at the
And we're
concert.
going to do a little teaser preview this Saturday afternoon at 3 at the Artist Hand Gallery.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to raffle off some tickets there, too.
Nice, nice. Tell me about the acoustics at the theater for strings.
It turned out to be, I of course, was dubious. Are we going to sound good in here, But it turned out to be really nice. And because, one of the partners in the Indiana Theater Project is Steve Holiday, who does all the sound and tech. He just did a wonderful job of giving us that tiny little bit of a boost in the hall that kind of put it over the top in a sense. It's that's probably the hardest thing I think for a acoustic tech sound person to pull off when you want a live organic acoustic sound that's not manipulated in any way, but you just want to make it a little more accessible to the audience. And he did just a wonderful job at that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. It's a good venue too because you can sit in the back row and feel like you're in the front row.
Right.
That's amazing. So,
It's also a good venue because even at our concert, because it's a theater, there'll be some concessions, including popcorn.
there we go.
When do you ever have that at a classical concert?
You're right. You're right. Popcorn makes everything nicer. Thank you so much to both of you for coming in to visit with us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Boomer Sports next, brought to you by S&T Bank. People Forward Banking.